oh boy, am I excited to spend time and space with you tonight. This is Leading Ladies Leaving Legacies. And tonight, our featured guest speaker, oh my goodness, I can't wait for you to meet her. I am Joy Ruffen. I work as a style and leadership coach, speaker, a signature style specialist, executive producer, TV host, and podcaster. It's all aligned. But tonight, our featured guest speaker, Julia Stewart. Welcome.
Thank you so much.
You are more than welcome. It is an honor to have you here because your background is mesmerizing. I mean, it's phenomenal. So let's start off with you are the founder and CEO of a company. We're going to talk a lot about that company. But for now, give us a little bit about your background and how you've come to do what you're doing now. And welcome again.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here, Joy. My career started in the restaurant business, first in high school as a food server for International House of Pancakes. That is a true story. And I looked around and said, wow, this could be kind of exciting. And I loved the fact that I would get feedback every day, every hour from guests and customers. I loved it. And so once I went away to college, I worked while I was in college. And as soon as I got out of college, I ended up in the restaurant business. And I guess the two big moments for me were I had spent 18 years marketing restaurants, right? And after 18 years, I decided I really want to run something. I really want to be a CEO. But I knew that no one would hire me if I just had a marketing background. No one would make me a CEO. So I literally quit my job as senior vice president of marketing and started as an assistant restaurant general manager of a Taco Bell. And I worked my way up. After 8 years, I was running all of operations for the franchise side of Taco Bell and stayed that until I became president of Applebee's. And the deal that was made is I could turn the company around. And once I turned it around, they'd make me CEO. And after 3 years, I went into the CEO and chairman's office and said, okay, here it is. The team and I have turned this around. These are exciting times. And the CEO said, no. And I said, well, not today, obviously, but what do I need to do? And he said, no, never. And so the next day I went in and said, I think it's time to move on. So I moved on. I went to International House of Pancakes, became the CEO, had a wonderful time, built a wonderful team. And 6 years later, we purchased Applebee's, and I had to let that gentleman go.
What a story.
What a story.
What a story. How could you not love this story? Because when I read your bio, Julia, I said, this woman not only is a female trailblazer and an agent of change, which includes how I label you. You are a builder. You empowered yourself so that you can empower others. And the kicker, you went back and you purchased a company that said no. Now, we want to hear, because we like a little juice. How did that go?
Well, you know what? I mean, thank you so much for saying that. You don't borrow $2.3 billion for revenge. I mean, there was a 30-second window there when I called him and said, I have to let you go. That felt good. But the truth of the matter is, we were really we had made so much progress at IHOP. We were concerned that we would be bought in a takeover because we were just printing cash. And so we really did look for the right acquisition. And so with the help of the board and the team, we went looking for what would be presumably a needle in a haystack. And interestingly enough, I was reading the Wall Street Journal one morning. In those days, you read it actually in a newspaper. And there was an article about the fact that Applebee's was considering all kinds of things, including a strategic purchase. So I thought, well, I'll at least call the banker. I did. The rest, as they say, is history. The board was very supportive. And 11 months later, we borrowed $2.3 billion, bought the company, changed the name. So it wasn't IHOP owning Applebee's or Applebee's owning IHOP, but we changed the name to Dine Global Brands. And we became the largest sit-down restaurant chain in the world.
What a story. How can any person, and especially females, be sitting out there and not be enamored over this story? Now, let's get to the nitty-gritty of the story. You are in corporate. You have built this company, and the story that you just shared with us is phenomenal. What is it that you have found, Julia, that holds so many women back from stepping out, taking that leap, jumping into what they know or feel could be the best opportunity or for them?
I don't, Joy, it's hard to say what holds people back because it's, as you know, it's very situational. It's different by person.
Exactly.
I will tell you, if you think back my entire life, it was always about taking what I considered calculated risk. And so, whether it was leaving my wonderful job of all those years where I was very successful in marketing, knew it well, and going and doing something, again, I viewed it as a calculated risk. I mean, if you were successful in marketing, how could you not be successful in operations? I say that because virtually everyone around me didn't think I'd be successful. And they would say to me, well, you were successful in marketing, but you'll never be successful in operations. And my answer was always the same. I'll show you. I mean, it's all about learning and getting better and learning and getting better and learning and getting better. And I was always over prepared. I do think that's a little bit of what's in my wood, is a little bit about being over prepared, but I just kept excelling. And I had always said, and I still believe this to this day, if for whatever reason that company or that organization wasn't going to support me, and I still feel this way today, then you should leave and go somewhere where you are respected and you can grow and develop. Because if you can't, in this day and age, you're just working for the wrong company.
Well, Julia, you shared quite a bit there, and there's some comments that you made that I want to dovetail back on because they're prime for all women today, for everyone, but especially for women, because I advocate champion and empower women. You said, I used another verbiage, but I get the drift of what you meant. You said I guess it's in my wood. I said it's in your DNA, right?
Yep.
You just knew. And whenever anyone says to you, never, or I would do it this way, you open and you consider it. But you, like me in a different way, because we're all uniquely the same and yet quite different, you
Right.
are a perennial, ongoing person. You don't take no for an answer. You keep
Correct.
plowing forward, right? So that
Right.
makes all the difference. You also said something about the conviction of knowing that this is what you needed to do or wanted to do. And you've always liked to take risk. That's in your DNA, I'm assuming. Yes.
It is, but it's calculated risk. I mean, I guess inherently
Absolutely.
it's calculated risk. I'm thinking to myself, how could I not be successful if I was successful in marketing? And if it doesn't work the first time, I'll do it the second time. And if you think about it, that whole career was helping entrepreneurs, franchisees get better at what they did. And so
Right.
for over 30 years, I helped franchisees grow their businesses, expand their businesses, grow their infrastructure, have a plan, have a future, build an infrastructure, hire the right people, train the right people, develop the right people. That's exactly what I do today as an entrepreneur. It was always there. I just pivoted for what was best for me and what I thought I could make the biggest difference. But that's true of anybody, right? They have to find their passion and what they're good at and then expand upon it however is possible for them in their world.
Well, you said it, and no one could have said it better. And you use a word that's so prevalent today, especially in the thick. Well, hopefully, we're almost out of it. The pandemic. Pivot. Pivot simply is just another word for change, but you change contingent upon all the variables that are being presented to you that don't fit you. And when you mention calculated risk and the infrastructure and all of that, what are some? And this is not negative or digging with a negative outlook. But what are some of the things that you have found in working with people, and especially women, that all of us need to amp up a wee bit more so we can be more positive in our DNA and what we're doing, our purpose, our mission, and our calling?
I think early in my career, I was told I was too aggressive, too assertive. I actually had a senior vice president tell me early on in my career that my style of management was too giving, too caring, exhausting. I cared too much, I gave too much, and that I would find over time that would not be helpful for me. And I remember saying to him, "Thank you for that constructive feedback," and promptly went back and continued to do what I knew was right for me. So I do think I call it the little voice inside of you. And that little voice is pretty strong if you really let it out. And the truth of the matter is, I knew, and there were obviously things I could learn from him and from others, but I never had a woman supervisor. I never had a woman coach. I never had a woman leader to work for. And so the truth of the matter is, I would tell you the thing I learned the most is watching people make mistakes and learning from those mistakes. Watching men in senior leadership positions who did things that I would never dream of doing, never wanted to do, and thinking someday when I get in the position where I can make a difference, I won't do it that way. So I often say I learned more from other people's failures and mistakes than I actually learned from a coach or a mentor. And frankly, the women along the way that I met, I think, I started an organization called the Women's Food Service Forum, myself and 11 other women. And it was really some of those early years and women who worked for competing organizations or other organizations, right? When I was at Taco Bell, my dear friend at McDonald's was one of the people who said, look, here's some of the things you're going to have to learn the hard way. And so I would often say you get coaching and development wherever you possibly can. And in my world order, it wasn't necessarily coming from the normal places. It was coming from the different places. And so I sought it out. I'm not afraid to say, help me, coach me, teach me. I don't
Oh,
know that. What's wrong with asking? I grew up in an academic family. My mother and father taught me if you're not learning all the time, you're not growing. So
oh.
ask people. I've never had, excuse me, I've never had someone say to me, no, I can't possibly help you. I can't possibly spend time coaching you. Of course, people are going to say that because it's sort of a compliment to ask someone for help.
Boy, oh boy, what jewels you're leaving us with. What nuggets that are priceless that you're giving us. And everyone needs to hear these things over and over and over again because it's easy to become complacent somewhat. You spoke to so much there that I want to dovetail back on. And the first thing that you said, and as you started off here, and I want to speak to this because I spoke to this earlier, intuition. It's crucial, especially for women, because it's that urge, that tingle, that kind of knowing inside that leads. If you're listening to those voices, you can heed what needs to be and get on that path. And also that you don't take never as a definitive no. It just means that you just find another way. And the biggest coup is that you learn from other people's, you observe. That's something that I did with all the learning disabilities that I had. I had to sit back and observe, and I was able to take a lot in. That's a beautiful gift, a beautiful gift. I love it. Sybil is here. Thank you, Sybil, for coming and spending time with us. I love this work that you're doing. Now, tell us a little bit about, before we go into what you're doing now, what was the biggest, well, somehow I know, but I'm asking, what was the biggest achievement for you all of those years working in this industry, in the food industry? What was the thing that gave you the biggest kick?
I can't remember how much EBITDA I made in any given year, but I can pretty much remember every single person I developed, grew, and promoted. And to this
Oh,
day, I am still promoting, I am still growing, I'm still developing. I think for me, it's a joy. Joy, the truth of the matter is when you become successful in whatever that is, in whatever space you want it, you don't have to win every time. You don't have to be in front every time. The best part is watching people you've developed and grow take the lead, stand up, hold strong. And I guess one of my favorite stories is about 10 years ago, I was walking through an airport in the middle of America in a city, and a young man, relatively speaking, stopped me and said, "You don't remember me, but 20 years ago, you walked into my restaurant and you told me I could do anything. And
oh,
I want you to know I went on to greatness." And I often say, what would Julia do? So thank you for your gift and your support. You'll never know. And I remember walking away saying, that's what it's about. That's what it's really about. You pay it forward, you make a difference in other people's lives.
I cannot tell you how that resonated with me to the marrow of my bones because that's my outtake. It's also Blanca and many of the other people that I'm associated and work with now. As much as we're in business and bottom line, it's about money, it's about so much more. Oh, that was absolutely priceless,
True
Julia.
story.
Thank you for that. That means a lot to a lot of people who'll be tuning in here later for the replay. And of all of you who are here now and that will come for the replay, thank you for that. Now, let's get to what you're doing now because I know that excites you and that gets you going. I know I can feel it, I can see it. Tell us about the company, Health and Wellness. I know for a fact is everything. I'm a happy senior, and I have a husband that I would really die for, and he's having a very difficult time. So tell me about your health and wellness and what you're doing.
So I spent my whole life giving you too much sugar, too much salt, too much fat, too much portion. And
Mhm.
so all my life, I lived by I've got to stay healthy and well for myself and ultimately for my family. I started a family very late in life. Most people don't have children in their 40s. I did.
Good for
So
you.
for me, it was about wanting to do something where I could give back in a way that would be significant, but really helping health conscious people achieve what really is the most valuable thing to them, which is their wellness. And the ultimate outcome is that people will adopt a proactive lifestyle and live longer, healthier lives because of it. So we discovered, and I knew this problem was people wanted to improve their physical and mental being, but they didn't have the right knowledge. They didn't trust anything or any product. It wasn't personalized for them, and they had trouble being accountable for making that change. So our solution was Alurx, Alurx, Alurx. And the idea
Hmm.
is an integrated platform. It's going to be available through a subscription in early 2023, and it will deliver education, trusted advice, personalization, recommendations, and behavior modification. So as we work through finalizing the app, in the meantime, we've got this direct to consumer platform called Alurx.com where you can purchase products and get the training and education and personalization from both doctors that we've brought on staff and experts. So literally in early 2023, we're going to integrate all of it. In the meantime, I have learned so much from these doctors, all women across the United States and experts
Wow.
helping guide us in everything from better sleep, better wellness, better exercise, better daily routines. But the single most important thing I've learned from all of these doctors and experts is about rituals. If you want to change behavior, you have to form rituals. So I sleep better, I eat better, I exercise more. It's not just about the products, it's about taking time for yourself, not a lot of time, working it in your lifestyle to make real change. And then I've been fortunate enough to find behavior modification specialists who are helping us with how we're going to be able, you're going to have to fill out a short questionnaire, and I'm going to know about you specifically and what it's going to take to motivate you or change behavior for whatever you want to work on. I think the first couple of months will be on very specific areas that everyone is telling us they've got to do better. Sleep is the number one issue, Joy.
Mm,
People do not get
mm,
enough sleep, and it affects everything,
everything.
including your ability to exercise, eat properly, and the like. And I think you have to find what works for you. It's different for everybody,
Absolutely.
but that's what
Absolutely.
we're helping people. And I'm so excited when I get emails from people saying you've changed my life. It goes back to my early days of
Yes.
developing, guiding people. I'm just doing it on a larger scale.
Oh my goodness. Julia, there's so much there. Let me breathe and take it in because you mentioned that there it's all about your phone is ringing. I love that. That means we're live, but it's okay. You mentioned that this company, Alurx, that you're with, I mean, it's powerful regardless, but you said it's all female doctors. That in itself, bravo, kudos to you. And so many other things. I'm not going to try to. You said rituals. Rituals are more or less like habits that you have to form. You mentioned sleep. I know how important sleep is because for me, it's about sugar. I had to give up sugar. I come from that southern background where cakes and pies and cookies were like, ooh, eating whatever all
Yep.
the time, 24/7. And I love it. The hardest thing for me to give up, but I have to tell you what a difference it's made. And this will be 2 years here coming up soon. So I get it. What was this? What brought you to this business? I mean, how I heard what you said in the beginning about your family and you're eating all the wrong foods. Did you just at some point feel that your body wasn't, you weren't in sync with your body? Tell us a little bit about how that realization came to you.
So, two things. One, I grew up as an only child with two parents who were teachers who always believed in taking care of themselves. My mother taught girls physical education. And so
Ah,
for her, that was the way you lived. Now the
uh-huh.
family ate way too much processed food, but I learned early on to get out of that, right? So it was great for me. But my mother would always say it wasn't about your weight, it was about what you put in your body and taking care of yourself. So it was never a focus on weight, but it was always a focus on, well, what are you doing sitting there when you could be out walking or a bicycle? She was never big on running,
Movement.
but she was big on swimming and exercise and bicycling, something to get the heart rate. And of course, when you're young and your parents tell you that, that's
Yeah.
what you think and believe. So I was fortunate that I had role models who wanted to be physically fit. Now, in those days, we did eat too much processed food. The good news is I learned very early on when I graduated and was in college, processed food's not good for you. So I began to pick up all these wellness routines and rituals. But again, I went to work for everyday indulgent brands, brands that were doing too much of a good thing. So I kept saying to myself, someday when I'm out of the rat race and I have the time to step back and reflect and learn, I would love
Mhm.
to start a company where I could absolutely help as many people as possible with this sort of, wellness is sort of this esoteric, what does that mean? But it's really all about your health and taking care of yourself and prioritizing yourself. And for me, you can't take care of anybody else or love or care about anybody else until you do that for yourself. So it's really about self care. And I was able to start this company with the help of some wonderful people and really begin to experiment and explore and begin working with these doctors and experts who have literally vetted my products, helped me. The sleep doctor in particular has taught me more,
Oh my
and
goodness.
my internists,
Oh,
my all of the different doctors I'm working with have been so helpful in the little things all the way. The sleep doctor, for instance, she has
let
thousands of patients. It's all
whew,
interesting.
it's fascinating. It's way beyond interesting. And the story that you share with us, thank you for that, because people want to know kind of what motivates you and what brings you.
Right.
But you mentioned a term there that I'm not familiar with, but I'm going to take it because I love to use words and expressions that speak the language without much else. I've never heard that everyday indulgence brands. Foods, you can say. We all know what that is, right? Everyday indulgence, meaning sometimes maybe not the best is what you're implying, politically correct in saying it that way, but I
Yeah,
get that. You
I
also
think it's
mentioned
every
self-care, which
right.
begins with self-love and knowing who you are. My whole thing is about women understanding who they are in the process of, and then you begin that self-care and take care of yourself. So I love that. And the movement, however you go about being active, because age is inevitable. It happens to all of us, but be your best at whatever health you're at,
And
age you're
Joy,
at.
the truth of the matter is it's different for I have a dear
Yes,
friend who doesn't like to exercise, but she said, I've got to do something. So I said, try walking. She said it changed her life. Great.
yes,
Now she
yes,
walks every day. She happens
yeah.
to live in an area where she can just walk every day and feel comfortable. I have another friend who says, I don't have time to leave the house. Great.
Yes.
Let's get you a bicycle. Let's get you some sort of self care yoga. We have a whole yoga training session on the video that is literally helping people. It's all about whatever works for you. And that personalization is what I'm trying to drive home. This idea that one size fits all, that one
No.
answer, it doesn't work that way. And I
That
can
doesn't work
speak
in anything, Julia. That doesn't work in anything. One size, that's why I say I'm a signature style specialist, individual preferences for that person. Nothing
that's right.
across the board works for everybody, not really. And even if you're using it in a different way.
That's
So
right.
I celebrate you for that. Good for you. Everyday indulgence. So I like that. I'm going to take the brand and say everyday indulgence foods. Somehow that resonates. It's really great. Now, you have a company that you said you're launching when? January, did I hear the 23rd?
We started in 2020 with the products, everything from vitamins and skincare to my favorite, which is the daily effervescent tablet, which helps puts the nutrients back in your system. We are selling that right now. So you can see both the products and you can literally get great advice from the doctors. The doctors are for free right now. but come early
On your
2020.
website.
Yes.
It's on your website. Okay. You have
Yes.
your website.
And come
You don't want.
Alurx.com. Come early
Mm-hmm.
2023, then we'll have the app. And the app literally goes on your cell phone and will enable you to have a specific daily ritual. We'll talk to you, it'll be customized for you. So we're building out the whole app piece and
Yeah.
integrating it with the products. I'm so excited.
Well, you should be, because that's the wave of the future. In conjunction with your website, putting that app out on the, because 90, I don't know what I read, you can tell me, percentage of people use and work more or less the heaviest concentration from their phones.
That is
So it's
correct.
going to be great, that kind of phone. I have to tell you, I don't brown nose, but I do celebrate women who step into their leadership role, step into their regal, majestic power, because that's what we all have. But it takes a while for many of us to get to that. So kudos to you, because
Thank you.
what you're doing is so needed. Health is everything. How many people do we hear about who have gobs of money and their health is fading away? So what good does it do? You spend it all with the doctors. So I celebrate you. And we as women, because we're nurturers, I heard what you said earlier about you taking care of everybody else. You're kind, you're considerate, and so we are. But we can also be leaders in that aspect as
That's
well.
right.
So
That's
good for
right.
you. I tell you, what is the main something you said a lot, and it all goes in, and we're taking it in. But what's the one thing with the business that you have now, Alurx, that you want more people to know about so they can go and investigate and look into the options that are there?
For me today, it's really trying something in the way of the products or reading the articles, because I think first we need to educate ourselves. We need to be informed. We need to understand before we put anything in our body. We need to understand and educate ourselves. And then I think you start slow with something that really, really resonates with you. And I'll never forget this. One of the internists that's on the team said to me the other day, Julia, 95% of my patients come into my office and they dump all of these things they want to fix on themselves. And of course, the internist said, I say to them, one thing at a time. Stop with trying to do everything at once. It's impossible. It doesn't work. And the failure rate is almost 100%. So let's really start. And most people start with sleep is a serious issue. It is almost impossible for people to get enough sleep. So it
We're back to
starts with
sleep.
one thing.
I like
Start with
sleep. We're back to sleep. Sleep and sugar. I think the two S's. There's probably another one. That's number one. I don't know where the time goes, Julia. You'll have to come back. We have so much in the hopper here, so much that we are doing that's aligned with what you're doing. And we want to be a part of your team and what you're about, promoting you. Now, the time is almost over. So, what food for thought, what gems, what priceless, whatever it is that you want to leave us with? I know you had something about a 20%, blah, 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 but whatever it is that you want to leave us with, you have a minute, leave us with that, and we'll say thank you for spending time and space with us. Your information is beyond powerful. I'm looking for another word, because what you're doing is so needed, and I commend and celebrate you for it. The
Thank
stage
you.
is
That
yours.
was a very kind of you to say. And for me, going to Alurx.com, doing the first 20, beginning the process, educating yourself first and foremost, and literally trying one of the many products. But remember, the truth is, it starts with the individual and wanting to make a change and to live a healthier, longer life.
Nothing beats that. Nothing
No.
beats that at all. Thank you, my new friend. I am honored to be in your circle, your tribe, and
I
your
the same
group.
with you. Thank you.
I feel the camaraderie here. So thank you again. I think the time has gone and it's over. Until the next time. So long for now. Cheers. I think this is great.